Welcome to a very special episode of Talk of the Town. My name is Philip Swicegood, and I am back this week with my good friend Dr. Kenneth Harper from Vein Specialist of the South, coming to you live from the historic Capricorn Recording Studio in beautiful and historic downtown Macon, Georgia. Now, if you're one of our brand new viewers on WMGT, thanks so much for joining us. Every Saturday morning at 8:30, you can expect an interesting conversation between Dr. Harper, myself, and someone in the community that is here to make Macon Bibb a better place. So that's what you can expect from us, but it's only on NBC on Saturday mornings at 8:30. Thanks again for joining us. This week, we're with the president of Mercer University, Dr. Bill Underwood, to talk to him about what we can expect from Mercer this year, and more importantly, why they were able to invest and restore the Capricorn Recording Studio that we are in right now. Dr. Underwood, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks, Phil. It's great to be here with you. Thanks for having me on your show.
Absolutely. So we are in just this beautiful building right now, which has a ton of history behind it, and it's the Capricorn Recording Studio. Mercer recently purchased it and restored it. Can you tell us the story behind that?
Yeah, this is obviously one of the most important music venues in the South. This was the home of Southern rock. It fell into disrepair years ago. Mercer owned it when I first arrived, and I loved the music that was made in this place. So I decided to come and take a look. And I have to say, my heart sank with despair when I walked inside because the place was falling apart. The floor was collapsing in some places. The roof was falling in. But there was one place in the studio that was preserved perfectly, just as it had been. And it turns out that was the great recording studio where all that music was made. Eventually, we sold the facility. It came back to us years later, and when it came back to us, we decided that this was a place that deserved to be preserved, not just because of the great history of the Capricorn Sound Studios. We saw this as a place where that history could be used to ignite a great future for music in Middle Georgia. This region has been the home of so much great music and so many great artists. Everyone knows about Little Richard, the founder of rock and roll out of Macon, Georgia, or Otis Redding, the king of soul, or the Allman Brothers, the founders of what we now call Southern rock. But there were so many great artists in Middle Georgia. Blind Willie McTell, who wrote Statesboro Blues that was later copied by the Allman Brothers, was maybe the greatest blues singer ever. Bob Dylan wrote a song about Blind Willie McTell from Macon, Georgia, where the refrain in the song was, "Nobody sings the blues like Blind Willie McTell." So there's just lots of fantastic music history here, and we thought by restoring this venue, it might be a way to inspire future musicians, and we think it's doing that. The recording studio's incredibly busy today. We had a 42-day stretch earlier this year where there was recording activity going on every day in the studio, Saturday, Sunday, and every weekday.
Wow.
We have an incubator next door to the studio that's used to develop young musical talent, and the incubator's full and busy. So we think Macon's got as great a music future as it has a music history. So I think you're going to see some really fantastic music come out of this place. I predict that the next Otis Redding will come out of that incubator next door, and that the next Allman Brothers band will emerge out of these sound studios.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah. 30 years from now, check with me and see if I was right.
I will be right back here with you.
You know, President Underwood, that's one of the things I love about Mercer and Macon and the community and the vision for things to be different and better while remembering our past, but looking to the future, how we can be better. This conversation leads to a question about the Robert McDuffie Center for Strings, the Townsend School of Music, and it's not just rock and roll, it's the whole spectrum of music that our community has the opportunity of enjoying is related to Mercer. You want to share a few of those other things on the music side?
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned the McDuffie Center for Strings. Of course, Robert McDuffie is another great musical talent that emerged out of this scene and illustrates just another different genre of great music that has been spawned in Middle Georgia. But the Center for Strings was his idea. He envisioned a place that would provide top-level conservatory music training for string students who would at the same time receive a great liberal arts education as they do at Mercer. And the Robert McDuffie Center for Strings, I think most objective analysts would say is the top undergraduate program in America today for students who are studying to be violinists or violists or cellists.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah,
That's incredible.
People wouldn't know that unless you're
right
on
here.
the inside or come here, President Underwood talk, but that is amazing for our community and for the region and the country.
Yeah, and I think it's going to produce broader benefits for the community. For example, this fall we'll have a symphony orchestra
For the first time in a number of years.
In a number of years,
Wow.
and Robert McDuffie's strings program is going to be at the center of that endeavor because these fabulously talented string students are going to be the strings section for the new symphony orchestra that we'll have here, and then we'll recruit players for the other sections from the Atlanta Symphony Orchestra. But it's going to be a great asset to Middle Georgia to have this top flight symphonic music available here in this community, and I think that's a byproduct of having McDuffie's strings program here.
So that's super. Now, we're here today to talk about, this is the beginning of the new semester, the new year.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about the student that chooses Mercer. I know you're proud of the academics of those students and where they're coming from. Would you share a little bit about this year, the 189th year, new class coming in?
Sure, we have the largest entering class of students we've ever had in our history. We'll have, by final count, somewhere well over 1,000 new students coming in, which is our largest class. They're incredibly talented. The average high school grade point average coming in is 3.98.
Wow.
The average SAT and ACT scores are in something like the 91st percentile for this class. I could not have gotten into this entering class at Mercer University. They're coming to us from 38 states and 24 foreign countries this fall. So it's a great class. It's a class that I think represents this region well. The diversity of the class pretty much matches up with the diversity of this region of the country. And I couldn't be more proud of the quality of young person that we're attracting to Mercer today.
Right.
Yeah.
We've had a number of your students come and work at vein specialists or spa medical. A lot of them are coming that are wanting to pursue maybe going to medical school or PA or one of the other medical related fields, and they get a feel for what it would really be like to enter that field. So, well, if we get a chance to hire a Mercer student, we're going to go for it.
Well, thank you.
Right.
Thanks for giving them that
So,
opportunity.
right.
Yeah.
So, good. Thanks
That's
for sharing what's coming up for this semester.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. So it does sound like you guys have a great class, and one of the great things is bringing in that many new students. That's that many young professionals that will end up likely staying in the community and really finding out just how great Macon-Bibb is, and how this is just such an amazing place to live with the proximity to everything and everything that's offered here in downtown Georgia. What I'm curious about, though, is you guys have produced so many high caliber leaders that are still in this community. What do you guys see as your role in Macon-Bibb moving forward?
Well, I think that Mercer and this community have mutually dependent relationship with one another. For Mercer to be the kind of university we want it to be, Macon needs to be a vibrant, energetic place that's attractive to talented young people. And so it's important to Mercer that we do everything we can to help Macon be that kind of a place, because our future depends on Macon being as great a place as it can be. So we've made a lot of investments in this community, trying to help promote more activity downtown, more development downtown, more economic opportunity for students. And the great thing I'm seeing is that lots of talented young people come here to study, and they decide this is where they want to make their future and raise their family. And you see some of these young leaders doing tremendous things in Macon. I'll point out Josh Rogers, the executive director of Newtown Macon. I think that organization is having an incredible impact on our community, and the best is yet to come for Newtown Macon. And you know, that's a former student body president at Mercer who came here from out of state and decided he liked Macon and he wanted to make his future here. Alex Morrison, the head of the Urban Development Authority, is another Mercer graduate. Karen Lambert, the head of the Peyton Anderson Foundation, a Mercer graduate. And anyway, I could go on and on. I think that that's one of the great things about having a major research university in your community, is it allows you to draw talent into your community, and we want to see that cycle continue.
The initiatives around the campus have really changed Macon for the better, whether it's Bill's Hill or the old project that's an awesome place to live now on Oglethorpe Street.
Yeah.
And the things happening over at Mercer University with the Mercer Villages. Tell us a little bit how that happened, and what do you see going from here as far as those kind of initiatives?
My predecessor, Kirby Godsey, had a great vision, which was that we could build an incredible private research university in Macon, Georgia, by helping revitalize this community to allow us to attract talent into Macon. And part of that vision was the need to take decaying neighborhoods and revitalize those neighborhoods. And he started with a neighborhood called Huguenon Heights, which is just off the border of campus, and he began encouraging faculty and staff to buy homes in Huguenon Heights and repair them and restore them and live in them. He'd give $20,000 down payment grants to faculty and staff to encourage that. And it was successful. It worked. Huguenon Heights is a great neighborhood today, and we moved to Bells Hill, and it's been incredibly successful. Bells Hill is a national success story. That's been a partnership between Mercer and the city and the Macon Housing Authority and Historic Macon. And it's the same concept of restoring these neighborhoods, and a lot of work's been done on the park across the street from campus. And anyway, that whole part of town, I think today is the best place to live in Macon. If you're looking for a home, that's a great area to move.
Talk to us a little bit more about some of these research projects, because you guys are known as a research institute, and you guys have a lot of initiatives that are ongoing with research. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, it has been a major focus of ours to strengthen the research infrastructure of the school, and to do some really interesting projects in connection with research. Most of the research we do is applied research. It's problem solving. And I'll give you my favorite example. We have a professor who grew up in Vietnam, and he moved here as a young man, very bright young man, went to medical school, and then got his PhD in biomedical engineering. And several years ago, he challenged his undergraduate biomedical engineering students to help him solve a problem that they have in his home country of Vietnam, and that is farmers stepping on landmines left over from the Vietnam War and losing a leg or a foot and having nowhere near the resources required to purchase a quality artificial limb. So he said, let's find out what makes artificial legs so expensive, and then let's figure out how we can build one that's better and cheaper. And they went to work on that, and they built a prototype. They took it to Vietnam. They fit 36 amputees the first year with this prototype. And what they discovered was that it was more functional than those that were commercially available.
Wow.
It was more comfortable than those that were commercially available, and it was a lot less expensive.
Wow.
The ones that were available in the marketplace cost about $10,000. It costs us about $85 to manufacture these artificial
My goodness.
legs.
Wow.
And we've continued refining that prosthetic over the last 6 or 7 years. It's gotten better with each generation of students who have passed through. We have now fit 17,000 amputees.
Isn't that amazing?
That's
Vietnam.
incredible. I
mean,
mean, that's
that-
17,000 people whose lives are changed forever.
Yeah, and so it's changed the lives of the 17,000 farmers who are able to go back to work and support their families. It's also changed the lives of thousands of Mercer students who have realized that they've got this great gift that they can deploy to really make a difference.
Wow.
And so, I love that kind of research. I love it when we can combine the research missions of the university with the service mission of the university, because I think it produces an educational experience that really does change people's lives.
That dovetails perfectly into a question I want to ask you. And one, I think real leadership is servant leadership. And your program, the Mercer University program, Mercer on a Mission, which this amputee prosthetic was birthed out of that,
Yes.
is a great example of that. Share a little bit about how that started. I know you've shared with about the prosthetic, but share about some of the other places that Mercer on a Mission students go and other impacts you'd like for people to know about.
Well, the idea behind this program, which integrates the research mission, the service mission, and study abroad into one package. It was brought to me when I was the interim president at Baylor, and I didn't have time to do it there. But when I got here, it's one of the first things that we set out to do was implement this idea, and it's grown dramatically. The year before COVID hit, we had over 400 students engaged in these kinds of research programs in 17 different countries around the world. And, I love the prosthetics program, and that's the oldest of the programs. But, for example, we have students in South America working with small-scale gold miners to protect the miners and their families from mercury contamination, which can cause dementia among the mining communities. And we've developed technology that's 99% effective in protecting these mining families from mercury contamination. It's technology that won a gold medal from the International Mining Association this past year. And, that's another great outcome from that program. That's technology that will eventually protect over 2 million small-scale gold miners worldwide. Wow. We have programs in Rwanda where we have business students working with widows from the genocide in Rwanda, helping them develop businesses and markets for their products. And it's a variety of programs in different places around the world, and obviously I'm pretty passionate about this.
Well, I love that because it's also instilling in the students an idea how they can give back. They're getting a great education. If they apply it, they'll have great careers in whatever they're called to do, but it gives them a passion for what it looks like to think outside yourself toward other people, and I really appreciate that about the Mercer on a Mission.
Yeah, I think that when people have that kind of experience, they want more of it. And that's the basic concept behind this, is you expose students to those kinds of experiences. And as Ken said, no matter what their vocation is in life, they're going to want more of those kinds of experiences.
Good
So,
job.
Dr. Harper and I, we've been doing this show for a little bit over a year now, and we've been blessed. We've had a lot of people tune in and watch it, and we're now on WMGT. And so we're at a point where we have a lot of people watching the show, and inevitably there's going to be someone out there watching that is considering coming to Mercer. Why do you think that person should consider coming to Mercer?
Well, I think that the lives of our students are empowered by the kind of education they receive at Mercer. I think that one thing that we're especially good at is helping students raise their sights as to what's possible with their lives, causing them to see more than they might have otherwise seen as to what they can accomplish personally. And that's what we want to be known for.
I've heard you talk a little bit about the recognition that the school, even like the School of Engineering, some of these national awards that are given, and you list like who's the top universities in these areas, or the scholarships, postgraduate scholarship. Tell us a little bit about those things in Mercer.
Yeah, that's something, our students are incredibly competitive today with students from the top universities in the country in the effort to gain postgraduate fellowships and scholarships and national honors and awards. And what Ken was referencing is for 3 years in a row, Mercer engineering students have won more Goldwater scholarships than the students at any engineering program in the country. That's the preeminent national scholarship.
Wow.
For students in engineering, and it's based on the quality of research that these undergraduate students are involved in. So we had 3 Goldwater winners this year, 3 last year, 3 the year before. Those 9 Goldwater scholars over the last 3 years are more than MIT's had. It's more than Caltech has had. It's even more than our friends up I-75 at Georgia Tech have had.
Wow.
And those are pretty stout engineering programs. And it says something about the quality of our undergraduate engineering program here at Mercer that we're beating the likes of those schools.
Anytime you can beat Georgia Tech, it's a good day. That's just a good policy.
Whether it's in engineering or like the opening game of the basketball season.
That's right.
This year, I'll take it anytime.
Absolutely. One of the things I've loved about you since you came to Mercer is the competitive spirit. I mean, I kind of have a competitive spirit, and I think if it's worth doing, it's worth doing it well and being the best at what you do with the talents that God's given you, of course. But we're excited about another sports season coming up. Football starts real soon, and all the other sport activities we have. How many different intercollegiate teams do we have?
We have 18 now.
18.
Yeah.
Wow.
So there's something for anybody in Macon that loves sports at Mercer. So I wanted you to tell us a little bit about how you see sports for the students, athletes, but also for the students' body and for the community, how it can bring us together. And I know you have a background in sports.
I do.
And you're competitive. So tell us, that drives all the other things you do too. I think that carried over into your approach to academics. Because I hear you tell the students, we expect you to be the best, in your team, but also in your academics. So share a little bit about your philosophy.
I certainly believe that life is a competitive endeavor. You want to compete for ratings, right?
That's right.
You want to compete for patience. When I was a courtroom lawyer, I wanted to win. And in fact, people wouldn't hire me if I didn't win. And I tell our students that one of the benefits of competing in intercollegiate athletics is that you do learn to compete, and hopefully you learn to compete successfully. And you learn the kind of sacrifice that's required to compete successfully. And that's one of the reasons that universities have historically done sports, is we believe it's a part of the learning experience in producing future leaders. And so I want to compete, and I want to compete well, and I want to compete successfully. Our second football game of the year this year, we played the defending national champions from Alabama, and everybody says, oh, you're going to get killed by Alabama. Well, we're going to try and beat Alabama that day, and it's going to be a great opportunity for those young men to compete.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, with that many different sporting leagues on campus and that many games that essentially go on year-round, how many different Mercer athletic events do you think you go to a year?
Oh, I have no idea, actually. That's a good question, maybe 100.
Wow.
If you
Wow.
don't see him, you say, I wonder where President Underwood is.
That's right, yeah.
You know he's out of town on some project or something.
But you know, one of the great things about athletics is sports, like nothing else in our culture, brings people together. You can come to a Mercer basketball game, and the arena's full, and everybody's pulling for the same thing. You see people pulling for the same thing that never pull for the same thing in any other aspect of their life. Politically, you know, they disagree on everything, but for those moments, they come together, and as a community, we're pulling for the same thing. And it's good to have that happen.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you for bringing football back to Mercer. That was a big, I know when you first came, you said, we're going to have a men's football program. And I think that was one of the big things that kind of, when we started that, it really spurred the campus on, and it increased the enrollment. It got some more guys coming to school. That was one of your goals, right?
Well, I think it is true that, especially in this region of the country,
Right.
a lot of prospective students think if you don't play football, you must not be a real school. And it doesn't matter whether they like football or not. It doesn't matter whether they ever go to a football game or not. They think you're supposed to have football and you're supposed to play football. So it's helped us.
Well, that venue, the stadium over there is big-time stadium.
It's
it
a
is.
beautiful place, and it's a great place to watch a football game. And for your viewers, if you haven't been out there, come. You'll have a great time, I promise.
That's fantastic. So for, I believe it's around 4 decades, Mercer has had a very formal relationship with Warner Robins Air Force Base. Can you tell us a little bit about that and where that's kind of going now?
Sure. You know, the base is obviously critically important to this region of the state. It's the largest industrial employer in the state of Georgia, and we want to do everything that we can to ensure that that base is successful in fulfilling its mission and is here for the long haul. 4 decades ago, the then base commander, Newt Nuterin, approached my predecessor, Kirby Godsey, and he said, we need engineers, and we need a reliable source of engineers and supply of engineers for the base. And that eventually led to the founding of our School of Engineering at Mercer. And through the years, we've worked with the base to make sure that our engineering program and our computer science program are meeting their needs. So I think today we are the #1 supplier of engineers for Robins Air Logistics Center, and we view that as an important part of our work. And we coordinate with the base. We talk with the folks at the base about what their needs are, and we make changes to our program as necessary to see that part of what we're doing is meeting the needs of that base. Very important to this community and a very important part of our mission at the university.
And I think that's why y'all are such a valued member of the community. When institutions like the Warner Robins Air Force Base have needs and they need you guys to change, whether it's a part of a curriculum or something like that, you guys are willing to go and do it to be able to help the community. And that just means a ton to the community long term.
Well, thanks.
Since the 80s, when Mercer, on the step of faith, created Mercer University School of Medicine, that really opened a path for Mercer having an impact on healthcare in the state of Georgia. And then later, when President Carter asked you and Mercer University to establish a rural healthcare system for many areas in our state that are underserved, that really cemented it even further. There are a lot of opportunities that our community, they know about the medical school, but tell them about the other ways and vision that you have for Mercer making a difference, what it's already done, and what we hope to do in the future with healthcare.
Well, the mission of our School of Medicine is to meet the healthcare needs of rural and medically underserved areas of our state. And I think we're doing that better today than ever before. Our dean, Jean Sumner, is perhaps the nation's leading expert in rural medicine. She's passionate about that mission and is constantly exploring new ways to meet the mission. Today, a student who is committed to going into rural medicine receives a free medical education at Mercer, which is a very important initiative. Working with our medical center, we're now providing an accelerated track for young people who want to go into rural medicine so they can finish medical school 1 year earlier and get out and begin working in rural communities sooner. President Carter has been an important help to us. He's a trustee at Mercer, and after our board meeting 2 or 3 years ago, he came up and said, "Bill, we've lost our doctor in Plains, and can you help me find a doctor?" And I told him I would. And 10 days later, when I hadn't yet produced a doctor for him, he sent me a terse email that said, "Bill, where's our doctor?"
Did the Secret Service show up
I
after
guess he
that?
thought I had a drawer full of doctors. But I talked to Jean Sumner, and I said, look, this is a chance to implement a concept that we've been talking about, and that is setting up our own network of rural medicine clinics around the state. So we opened a pilot clinic in Plains 6 weeks later, and we liked it, and we liked what we saw there. It's got a full-time physician. It's got a great telemedicine hookup. It's got all the physician extenders you would want at a clinic like that. And we've since opened additional clinics in Fort Gaines, in Fort Valley, in Eatonton, and Harris County, which is just northeast of Columbus. And I wouldn't be surprised if 5 or 6 years from now we see 30 of these Mercer rural medicine clinics. And the idea is to ensure that anyone living in a rural community in Georgia has relatively easy access to a doctor through one of these clinics.
You have 3 campuses for Mercer Medicine?
And we have three
now?
full 4-year campuses of the School of Medicine. Of course,
Wow.
our original campus here in Macon. We opened a campus in Savannah in 2009, which has been a great success. And this fall, we're opening a campus in Columbus and are just completing a facility on the river there in Columbus. We'll have 720 medical students at a time
Wow.
when the Columbus campus is fully opened. So it'll be actually a fairly large medical
The
school.
School of Pharmacy was actually there before the School of Medicine, right?
We've had the School of
Right.
Pharmacy since 1959.
It's in the Atlanta
It's
campus.
in Atlanta, yes.
And there have been some amazing medications, research out of the School of Pharmacy that can make a big difference. Am I right?
They do amazing research
Right.
at the School of Pharmacy. I have to say I don't understand most of it, but I'll give you an example. One difficulty we have in getting people to be vaccinated is there are a lot of people who are scared to death of needles. And so one of the projects that they're working on now with support of the National Institutes of Health is using transdermal delivery systems to deliver vaccines for the first time. These are patches. You put a patch on, and the vaccine's delivered through the patch, and because it's delivered slow release over time, it's more durable than vaccines that are administered in a single shot. So that's an example of the type of research they do in the School of
Then
Pharmacy.
there's the PA School, Physician's Assistant School
Right.
is in Atlanta campus.
Yes.
What other schools have I maybe forgotten to mention?
We have a physical therapy program, a doctoral level physical therapy program. We have a master's and doctoral level public health programs. We have the College of Nursing that's based in Atlanta. So, and of course, the biomedical engineering program here. So in terms of healthcare today, I think I probably shouldn't say this, but I think we're the most impactful institution in the state, and I think that that you're going to see that impact continue to grow. We're going to add an occupational therapy program in the next year. A speech and language pathology program will be coming online. We're looking at ways to expand the nursing program into regions where they're having special need for nurses. We have over 2,000 students in the health sciences right now.
So they're making a difference. Thank you for your leadership. Leadership really does matter, and vision matters, and you have brought both to Macon, and we appreciate that.
No, thanks. Thank you.
President Underwood, thank you so much for joining us. This was a great conversation about Mercer and where you guys are headed, and more importantly, what you guys have already done for the community and the world. So thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me on. I really enjoyed this.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for joining us this week. Stay tuned for where myself and Dr. Harper might show up next. You never know where that might be.
Cramping, burning, swelling. Don't let varicose veins ruin your personal best. Get back in the game with Better Veins for Life and improve strength, energy, and performance. Walk in, walk out at Vein Specialists of the South, where getting back in the game starts. Call Vein Specialists of the South today.